Good afternoon, and this is Rich Nass, and I'm here for this week's installment of 5 Minutes With. And this week I have the pleasure of speaking to John Paliotta from Vector Software. John is the co-founder and CTO of the company. How are you, John?
Excellent, Rich. How are you?
I am great, thank you. Okay, so let's get right into the questions because we do have 5 minutes. First question is an easy one, but a hard one. In very short order, like 2 sentences or less, what's an embedded system?
Let's see. So to me, an embedded system is just a combination of hardware and software that solves a problem. So there are zillions of examples, but I think that pretty much says it.
Okay, well, that was a very simple answer. I like that a lot. Okay. I looked through your bio, and I found that you co-founded this company at a pretty early age. So what advice would you give to somebody who is thinking of following in those same steps?
Yeah, to me, like, if it's a tech-related thing, then I think anybody who's in the tech business is sort of driven by things that are intellectually interesting. So my advice would be find something that's intellectually interesting to you, and then take the first initial steps without worrying if you have all the answers, because for sure my partner and I did not have all the answers when we started. We knew very little about productizing software or any of the other millions of hurdles that we've cleared since then. So just get started would be my brilliant tip.
You know, I would not have expected that. I would have expected something that was at the other end of the spectrum, where you should really do all your research and know everything about everything you need to know before you get into it.
No, I think the thing is that would paralyze you, right? It's impossible to know everything, and it's impossible to anticipate the challenges you'll have. So to me, I tell, like, even my kids, I'm like, hey, get out on the highway and start driving, and you'll see opportunities as you go. And I think products, software in particular, is very much that way. If you come out with an initial version of something with a few features, you can easily add on to it, and you'll get immediate feedback from your installed base as far as what they really want. And that, to me, is the key to building a successful software product.
Okay, I really like that. That's good advice. Okay, you mentioned kids, and I often, in these interviews, we talk about kids in college, and there's lots of different ways we can go with this, but one of the things that happened in a very recent interview with a prominent CEO, he said to me that he would take a design team that's graduating in 2015 over a team that had graduated in the year 2000 any day of the week. Now, being somebody who graduated way before the year 2000, I had a little issue with that because I thought we learned a lot. But what do you think? Which team would you take, and why?
I'm kind of neutral on that. I don't have a strong opinion, but I'll tell you what I think. I think it's exactly like saying, is Bobby Hull better or Sidney Crosby better for hockey players if people are hockey fans? It's impossible to compare, right? So I look at it this way. To me, I've been doing this for 30-something years, and over again, the people who are really good software developers are good at 3 things. They're good at pattern recognition, problem decomposition, and identifying edge cases. And I think most of those skills come from writing a lot of code. And the thing my sort of view on new grads is you might get exposed now to much more technology than you did, when I was in college. I was a math major. And but the thing is, those skills all come from writing a lot of code. And so if you go to a school where the CS program is all about writing a lot of code, then I think you're probably very well prepared, and you're better prepared than somebody from 20 or 30 years ago. But if you go to a school where it's mostly smaller assignments and you don't do sort of multi-team projects with CM involved and testing and GUIs and databases, then I think it's sort of a wash.
Okay. So in your opinion, just in general, are the colleges really getting these students ready for the real world of engineering and computer science?
I think with the computer science major more than any other major, there's a huge disparity between the colleges. So if you look at the 10 top colleges, I don't know how many it is. It's not only 10, but if you look at the top comp sci programs, then those kids are writing a ton of code. If you look at the third-tier colleges for comp sci that really aren't dedicated to it but have a comp sci major, then no, those kids are not writing enough code. So if you have a kid who's way into being a developer, then it really is in their best interest to do their due diligence when they're applying to colleges.
Okay, fair enough. So you mentioned you have children. Would you advise them to go into the engineering field?
I think my thing is it's not so important what they go into as long as they have passion for it. So, you know, my kids are all over the lot. I have kids who have a science and math, predisposition. So I would tell them my best advice, and what I tell my kids is learn some hard science, some real science, but also take some business courses, because I think everything in the world revolves around sort of the value proposition, no matter how good the technology is. So understanding sort of technology and the business side of it is sort of a great combination the way our economy is now, I think.
Very good. Okay. We are just about out of time, but one more question I'd like to ask you is, since you're very close to it, what are the biggest changes that you've seen in embedded development over the course of your career?
Well, it's really interesting. At the beginning of my career, I worked on this submarine weapons system, and the whole system got rewritten in the span of, 5 or 10 years. It got rewritten from scratch in 3 different languages for sort of 3 different computer systems, and that just doesn't happen anymore. I mean, the code bases being developed today, whether people like them or not, are going to be around for a really long time, because the size and the cost and complexity, it's like just really hard to start from scratch for something. So, with that being said, the biggest change is sort of distributed teams, larger code bases, and longer life cycles. Those are the sort of 3 things that I've seen change dramatically in 30 years.
Okay, that was great. Well, our 5 minutes is up, John. I'm afraid that we've used all our time.
That's fine. It was excellent.
Well, thank you. I know it goes fast. That was John Paliotta, the CTO and co-founder of Vector Software. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Rich.